Give me the green light when this thing's on.
We don't have a green light. We have a green screen. Hello and welcome to MMA Combat Devolved. This is my trusty co-host, Evan Quarles, and I'm your other co-host,
There's no real
Colin Quarles. There's no full-size host here. It's just two co-hosts for one show.
That's right.
All right, today we're going to be discussing UFC 252. The main event is the heavyweight title for possibly the greatest UFC heavyweight of all time, or just heavyweight of all time. Daniel Cormier is facing Stipe Miocic in the trilogy fight. Both of them 1-1 for the heavyweight belt. Lots of implications in this fight. We'll get to the in and outs later. Our co-main event is Junior Dos Santos versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik,
I do believe.
One of the
partner?
One of the more difficult names in the sport to say.
That is true.
Yeah, we're gonna get in and out. You're gonna have all your information provided for you right here. So if you're new to the sport, this is a great way to understand this card and the fighters in the card and what's at stake for every fight on the main card. So
yeah. Hey, casuals welcome. We want them to come in here and learn a little something.
Yeah, this is great for the casuals, and if you're a hardcore like one of us, you still might learn a little something. So
yep, you don't need to go to any other source. This is the one. Don't go anywhere else.
Yeah. Yeah, you might be misinformed anywhere else. This is the only legitimate source of information for mixed martial arts.
We have something that other people don't have, and that's balls. No one's going to give you the real scoop. That's why we're here to see this devolving sport.
Yeah, let's just be honest here. MMA has gotten worse over the past decade or so. Yeah. Really, from UFC 1, it's just been downhill. If I'm being honest here.
Yeah. Once Mark Munoz retired, it really went downhill.
I don't think Mark Munoz was on UFC 1, but the point is still noted. But let's jump right in to our main event of the evening.
We're going to start the main event.
Yes, we're going to start right at the main.
Oh, okay, my notes are all mixed up then.
Oh no, we got to draw them in with the main event right off the bat.
All right, we're going to start.
The crowd is roaring in here. It is very loud.
Yeah, it's hard for me to hear you actually.
What's that?
This earpiece isn't working, I don't think.
Yeah, we're getting to it. All right, let's go to our tail of the tape really quick. All right, so our reigning heavyweight champion. Let's redo that. Our reigning heavyweight champion, Stipe Miocic, 37 years old, standing at a towering 6'3". I'm pretty sure they've had him listed at 6'4" in the past, but people like to cut height occasionally.
I would think he was taller than that.
240 pounds. Expect him to come in anywhere between 230 and 245. And he has an 80-inch reach, so pretty lanky reach on him. And our challenger, Daniel Cormier, 41 years old. He was supposed to retire by the age of 40, but this trilogy fight has kept him going. 5'9". I'm pretty sure they've had him listed at 5'10" before. Little short.
That's true.
Yeah, a little short for a heavyweight, but he is an animal.
If he is 5'9", he is shorter than me.
Yes,
and
that would be correct.
That's insane.
And weighing in at 235 pounds, expect him to come in anywhere between 230 and 250, depending on what kind of shape he's coming in. And 72.5-inch reach. So based on the physical stats of the two, you would give Stipe the
deep advantage.
Big advantage.
And the thing about this fight is you would think when you listen to Stipe's age that would really mean something. A man's 37 already. But he's fighting someone. Then you go to the other guy, DC, and he is 41. So that it's really it's just two older men going at it. So I mean, age really. It's hard to put that into the equation because in fight years, both of these guys are around 70 years old.
Yes, and another thing to note is that light heavyweight and heavyweight seem to have a longer half-life for their fighters. I'm not sure exactly what the average age is for your contenders and champions, but generally your older fighters that have been competitive have been in light heavyweight and heavyweight, like Randy Couture, Daniel Cormier, or Frank Mir, Dan Henderson at light heavyweight, and the list goes on. There's tons of heavyweights that typically last longer.
Randy Couture fighting till he was 48.
Yes.
That means if
legend.
DC did that, he would still have 7 more good years in him.
Yeah. Wouldn't bet on that.
The strangest thing about this fight is that the betting odds are completely even. I looked at the Vegas odds, and it's both minus 130 apiece.
I'm glad you have the odds here. That makes sense considering DC won the first fight to win the heavyweight championship from Stipe with a first-round knockout, and Stipe reclaimed the belt in the rematch in a war that ended in, I believe, the 4th round.
Third or fourth for sure.
I think it was the 4th. I'm pretty sure it was the 4th round, but he landed. Stipe was losing, or was at least losing the first 2, and I think the 3rd could have gone either way. And Stipe found his rhythm with the body shots and ended up getting a TKO victory.
Yes, an amazing change up in game plan. That is one of the best examples of having a great corner man. How that can really change a fight. Someone needs to tell Mike Perry that.
Yeah, Mike Perry could be told a lot of things.
Toughest fight to call on the card, in my opinion, is this fight.
Yes, I would probably agree. So, yeah, I would say it was also a great cornerman and an example of a great fight IQ also. But
Yes.
So you have the history of the two. Stipe has the record for the most title defenses at heavyweight in UFC history, which I believe is 3.
It's 3.
Very low.
Extremely
That
low.
is typically because, and this is a theory, but a pretty proven theory, I would say, heavyweights tend to hit harder, which leads to more knockouts, more finishes, and that sort of thing. And there's also a greater deal of injuries in general at heavyweight due to them being bigger, carrying around more mass. So it's much harder to hold on to the title in general at heavyweight.
Examples being Cain Velasquez.
Yes.
Brock Lesnar.
Yes.
Shane Carwin.
And I want to say Randy Couture might have had the tied for the second most title defenses before this.
Yes, I believe so.
So in general, Stipe is considered to be the heavyweight GOAT of the UFC, but it is tit for tat with Daniel Cormier, who has 1 or 2 title defenses. I want to say just 1 against Derek Lewis.
Yes.
And then he immediately rematched Stipe.
Only 2 losses on this whole record.
Yes, yeah, incredible. And two of the greatest fighters of all time. One of them being a dirty, filthy cheater in John Jones. But, you know, what are you going to do? So what do you think each fighter needs to do to get victory?
I think DC's going to have to make sure he has great cardio. I think his chin's going to be a little bit lessened in this fight, so he's going to have to be a little bit more defensive to win. And I think Stipe is going to have to be more aggressive and come in with stronger punches and throw way more significant strikes than DC. I think it's going to have to be a great defense versus a great offense for this fight.
I'll let you take Stipe's strategy, and I'll give you what I think DC should do to win.
All right.
So you have Stipe's strategy for victory. For DC's strategy to victory, after rewatching the tape, I believe DC needs to get back to the leg kicks. He was having great success with those early in the first round of the rematch and never went back to them after the first round. And he needs to wrestle more. He wrestled very heavily in the first round and never went back to it again after that. He never even really feinted takedowns after the first round, never really threw a whole lot of leg kicks. He had some great takedowns in the first round. Maybe he didn't go for them later because it was a cardio issue. He did come in kind of heavy. But yeah, I think he needs to come in with great cardio, DC. And he needs to wrestle more consistently, feint the takedowns at the very least because that can equalize the striking, and get to the leg kicks, and then find a way to stop those body shots because that was the big equalizer for Stipe.
Yes. It's weird because both of them know what they have to do to win because they both have won. So it's strange to see what both of their game plans are going to be and what changes they've made in both these fights. Because Stipe made a change midway through the second fight, but now DC knows that. So what is he going to do to counter that? And what is Stipe going to do to keep his game plan fresh just so DC doesn't know what's coming?
Yeah, it's good. There's definitely a lot of questions that need to be answered. And that leads me to my next point. Do you think the winner of this fight is the greatest heavyweight in mixed, not in just the UFC, but in mixed martial arts history, or the UFC, or both.
Heavyweight.
Heavyweight, yes, heavyweight history.
It's tough to argue against it. Randy Couture's definitely up there. Cain Velasquez, people do argue. I think Dos Santos might have a better resume. And Josh Barnett's definitely up there too. I know DC destroyed that man, but he also has some great noble wins, beating Randy Couture early in the career. It's hard to argue against it though. If Stipe beats DC only has 2 losses, and that's Stipe and Jones, and he's whooped everybody else. So I would say so.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the winner is the greatest UFC heavyweight. I think you could still argue that Fedor is maybe the best mixed martial arts heavyweight. It would definitely be kind of like a 1A, 1B type thing for either one of these, I think. Obviously, Fedor never fought in the UFC, so that kind of hinders his legacy. But he is also 9-1 against UFC champions.
Wow.
So he has an incredible resume in his own right. So I really, like I said, I think you can make 1A, 1B for Fedor and the winner of this coming up fight. DC has an incredible resume with winning the Strikeforce Grand Prix, facing Josh Barnett in the finals, beating Jeff Monson, and the other name on that run in Strikeforce is slipping my mind right now. But he also has wins over Frank Mir, Derek Lewis, and then his entire light heavyweight reign. Not quite the amount of wins in the UFC as someone like Stipe, but in the way that he has accomplished these things and the longevity of his career, I think more than makes up for the lack of time. Oh, and the massive physical disadvantages he faces while being 5'9" to 5'10", a shorter man while facing most 6-foot+ fighters.
I can tell you this. Cain Velasquez is not the best heavyweight of all time.
Yeah, nor is he close. Strange opinion. Don't know where anyone, what basis anyone would come up with that for. But so moving on.
Well, let me tell you who I got winning this fight.
Okay, let's move into the picks. Yes.
So I think it's gonna be a very, very extremely close battle this time. I don't see this fight getting finished this time though. I think they're both gonna have sharpened game plans. If there is a finish, I'm going to say it would definitely be Stipe, but I don't think there'll be a finish, and I think it's going to be a split decision where it could go either way, but Stipe will get the split decision because it's better for the organization for Stipe to win.
Yes, I could see, but both fighters are honestly talking about retirement. DC confirmed 100%. Stipe seems to be on the fence, leaning more towards yes, it seems like, but kind of hiding it. I am going to slightly lean DC only because if you look at both of their fights, DC has won more rounds than Stipe has won over DC in totality. I think I had it 3-0 going into the 4th round for DC in the rematch, with the 3rd round being very close. Could have gone either way. But I think him just having the totality of winning rounds slightly edges my favor towards DC. And I will say a TKO to KO finish. One of the two.
What round would that be in?
I will say round 3. Round 3, TKO/KO victory for DC. And I think he wrestles more heavily in this fight.
If he has that good clinch work again, it's very possible.
Yes. But all right. Moving on to our co-main event of the evening. What's that? We can't. They don't want us to litter on the set, or by the octagon. Someone's gonna slip.
I don't care. This isn't your mama's UFC talk show.
Greg, come on, get this for me. Thanks, Greg. All right. Moving on to our co-main event, Junior Dos Santos, a heavyweight legend in the UFC, former champion, one of the most dominant heavyweights of all time in his day. Is taking on Jairzinho Rozenstruik, whatever the name is. I don't know.
Rozenstruik.
Yes. And let's go to the tail of the tape really quick.
Yes, Dos Santos being 36 in age, and Rozenstruik being 32. So 32 is on average the prime age of a UFC fighter.
Is that true?
From what I've heard.
Okay.
That's the prime age, and then it starts to decline from there, baby.
I wouldn't argue.
And Dos Santos is 36, surprisingly younger than I thought he was.
Lots of fight miles.
Yeah.
On Junior Dos Santos.
Very nice guy.
Very lovable man.
Yeah. What else do you got for the tail of the tape?
The weight we have. I'm sorry, we're having some technical difficulties. 230-ish pounds for Dos Santos. He come in a little lighter, a little heavier, given the day. Rozenstruik coming in at 240 range, and Junior Dos Santos 77-inch reach, with Rozenstruik having a 1-inch reach advantage at 78 inches. So yeah, very big men.
Yes, and I will note, Dos Santos, people may think that he has been losing a lot of fights recently, but really he's won 3 of his last 5 with a TKO win over Ngannou. Is that right?
That is incorrect.
Oh, he got knocked out.
He got TKO'd by Francis Ngannou.
That's true.
Freudian slip here by my co-host.
Well, anyway, Dos Santos has won 3 of his last 5 fights.
Yes.
One of them not being Ngannou.
Yes.
So, you know, he has some miles on him, but he's still winning. He's still very competitive. It's just his chin's declined a little bit, but his skill set is still there.
Yes, he has the skill set and, in general, the fight IQ. Like I said, heavyweights seem to be longer in the tooth for their fight years. Both fighters have TKO/KO losses to Francis Ngannou very recently, Rozenstruik being the more recent. And then Dos Santos more recently lost to Curtis Blades via TKO or KO.
TKO.
But yeah, before those 2 fights, he was on a slight career resurgence. He just seems to kind of stay around the game. Right when you think he's kind of entering that Andrei Arlovsky territory a little bit, where you think right when he's on his way out, he kind of comes back and strings together a few wins and shows these new dogs some old tricks.
Yes. Great. Yeah. Like I said, won 3 of the last 5. So he's definitely not out of the race yet. I don't think he would be a champion anytime soon. People might write Dos Santos off in this fight, saying he's going to get knocked out in the first round. But I'm not too sure about that.
Yes, and I'm fairly certain Rozenstruik has an extensive kickboxing background, very successful. So this should make for an interesting contest, as Dos Santos is known for having some of the best boxing in the heavyweight division in MMA history. So very kind of clash of striking. Expect a lot of striking in this fight. And that leads me to my first question. Where do you think each one of these guys goes with a win, having them both been set back by Francis Ngannou or Curtis Blades kind of being at the top there?
I think Dos Santos has officially became a gatekeeper for the heavyweight division. So I think he's at that point in his career where you don't look for him to climb up the rankings, but you just look for good fights for him. You just try to put him against people where you know it's going to be exciting. And then if he happens to win a bunch of those, then maybe eventually give him a shot somewhere, top 3 people. But I think he's at the point now where you're just looking for him to have an exciting fight. He's just someone that's going to spice up a card, like this card.
I agree. And also great matchmaking, in my opinion, for this fight. Like I said, probably going to be a stand-up affair. He's also been on social media talking about his ketogenic diet he's been doing. He's gotten extremely lean, and it seemed like he was hinting at a light heavyweight jump to 205, which would be interesting. I'm
getting flashbacks of Rene Couture, Chuck Liddell, too.
Yeah, it would have been a little more interesting earlier in his career, but I agree with what you're saying. Keep him in the fun fights. And where do you see Dos Santos? No. Oh, yes. Well, where do you see Rozenstruik going from here if he gets a win? He's 9-1, I believe.
If he beats Dos Santos, I really don't see him going anywhere. Ngannou murdered the man, and maybe gets the loser of DC and Stipe, and Ngannou would get the winner.
Unless one of them retires.
And if they both retire,
or both,
then I don't know, because the heavyweight division right now is pretty dicey.
It's a little bit of a clusterfuck, as
Yes.
my colleagues would say.
Yes. Maybe
yes.
just have Greg Hardy fight one of them.
We're going to get to him a little bit later today. But
Really?
anyways, yes, just very briefly. But anyways, we don't want to jump ahead here. I would like to see Rozenstruik, if he gets the win, take on Curtis Blades because he's already lost to Ngannou twice. Big win streak, though. Not really anyone else for him to fight. He just can't seem to jump that Francis Ngannou barrier. So I think a great win. If Rozenstruik gets the win, I would love to see him fight Curtis Blades.
That'd be very interesting.
Dos Santos, like you said, really anybody fun would be good. If Rozenstruik loses, I think he kind of moves more into that also give him some fun fight territory. But
yes.
what do you make of Dos Santos' legacy and career?
Santos' legacy and career?
Just as a whole.
I mean, he's amazing. I mean, you could argue he could be put into the Hall of Fame.
Yes, definitely.
I love watching him. I really wish him and Brock Lesnar had fought. That would have been really fun to see. I think Dos Santos would have really, really messed him up.
I would have heavily favored Dos Santos in that matchup.
But Dos Santos, I can't remember how many fights exactly it was till he got his title fight, but I think he had like 9 wins in the UFC or something around there.
Knocked out Fabricio Verdum in Verdum's UFC debut.
Yeah, yes. And
Viciously.
in my opinion, his best fight was when he fought Crow Cop. I love that fight. Very competitive. That's a very young Dos Santos. Fresh in the UFC, hungry. Crow Cop's an old vet, and they both just put their skills on the line. It was very close.
Boxer versus kickboxer.
Exciting fight. I love that fight.
Somewhat similar to this fight. Boxer versus kickboxer.
Yeah, and Santos did very well against Crow Cop, which is why I would have Dos Santos winning this fight in unanimous decision.
I am going to lean Jairzinho Rozenstruik for this fight by KO, but I would in round 1. But even though I'm giving it a first round, it's because these two are heavy hitters. I'm only ever so slightly leaning Rozenstruik. Always hard, like Arlovsky, always hard to know what you're going to get out of Junior Dos Santos these days. He could come in there and just look like an animal.
I think he'll strike a little bit, might get a little tired, might feel the heat coming from Rozenstruik, and I think he might take. I think you might see Dos Santos with a takedown later on in the fight.
That would be shocking, but he is crafty, so you never really know. Moving on down the card, we're going to go to the tail of the tape. Magomed Ankalaev versus Ion Cutelaba in a rematch. And we're going to jump to the tail of the tape really quick.
The rematch between these two men. All right.
Magomed Ankalaev, 28 years of age. Ion Cutelaba being 26. Both young.
Yes.
Both very young. These are two light heavyweights. I don't know if we mentioned that yet. 205-pound mark. Ankalaev sitting at 6'2", while Cutelaba sitting at 6'1". Both 205 pounds, and both having a 75-inch reach. So, as one of the former UFC Hall of Famers would say, virtually identical.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Very similar in frame. Ankalaev, I want to believe, is from Dagestan, and Cutelaba, I cannot remember. It's escaping me right now what country he's originally from.
Couldn't tell you. But these men have fought before.
They have fought before. And I kind of want to jump right into my questions because I was very excited to get these questions out of the way.
Well, go ahead. Partner?
Is Ion Cutelaba the dumbest fighter in the UFC history?
It's quite very possible. It's either him or Heath Herring.
What makes you say Heath Herring?
Heath Herring fought Brock Lesnar, and he wasn't even close to being able to fight. I don't know why he would accept that fight.
Hey, that's confidence. We're forgetting or mixing up confidence with stupidity. But I get your point.
Kimbo Slice.
Oh, Kimbo Slice is a smart man. Rest in peace.
I love Kimbo Slice. That's a good man.
I do too. I would say
a good man.
He might not be the dumbest outside of the octagon, but he is most definitely on fight week and in the octagon. And before he gets in the octagon, before the fight starts and after the fight starts, the dumbest fighter in the UFC. Dumbest in-cage and media day, weigh-in day fighter in the UFC. And to give a quick history on why I'm saying this, bit of a dick if you look at his weigh-ins and his actions, not even just in this fight, but
yeah, kind of an asshole.
Yes, I'll show a little highlight really quick if I can manage to get my hands on it. Cutelaba, when they step in the cage for the first fight, as they're announcing his name, he walks across the octagon all the way to Magomed Ankalaev and just gets right in his face. I don't know what security was doing that day. And Ankalaev just picks him up and like kind of throws him off to the side.
Yeah,
and
that
security
was crazy.
jumps in. They almost fought before the announcement was even over. Then they get into the octagon, and we have slightly different takes on this. But essentially what happened is Cutelaba plays possum a little bit and pretends like he's hurt. He might have been hurt originally at the first kick of the fight. Kind of hard to tell. But he definitely started to play it up. And he played it up so well, like wobbling and whatnot, playing like, oh, I'm hurt. Come and get me. Played it up so well that they stopped the fight because they thought he was hurt. And then he was mad.
They stopped the whole fight.
And play stupid games, win stupid prizes is what I say. Yeah, not a smart man.
Yeah. No, it was awful. That's why in this rematch, I really hope he gets knocked out.
I think everyone in the world is praying for that.
I would love to see this man get knocked out.
Before you get to your actual pick, though,
Okay.
I was going to say, do you foresee Cutelaba doing something dumb before, during, or after the fight itself? On like the day of the weigh-ins or the fight or in the cage or whatever.
Sure, I think he's going to talk a lot of shit.
Yeah.
I think he's going to do a lot of shit talking.
Yes.
And I think the other dude has no worries. I think he's going to play it Khabib style. He's going to sit there and just stare at this man, make a fool out of himself once more.
Mm-hmm. And as far as it's hard to break this fight down, considering what happened in the first fight. It was very short, couldn't really gain a lot. Skill-wise, Cutelaba, I believe, is a sambo and judo guy. Very good takedowns, very good clinch, power in his hands. Questionable gas tank as he was putting the hands on Glover Teixeira before he gassed out and got beaten. Ankalaev, kind of under the radar, really just good everywhere. Got the Dagestani style wrestling and sambo, good hands, great kicks. I am going to go on a limb and say Ankalaev is going to get the win. I'm going to say a second round submission win.
Oh, really?
Yes.
See, I have the exact same thing happening as the first fight, except for real this time. I'm going to say Magomed knocks him out, round 1.
Ooh, okay.
Round 1 KO, once again.
All right.
But
Well,
this time for real. He might be dead.
we can only pray. All right, well, moving on to our next fight on the main card. Pedro Munoz, not Mark Munoz, Pedro Munoz.
No.
Not sure if they're related, is taking on Frankie Edgar in Edgar's bantamweight debut, 135 pounds.
All right, well, since the recording of this video, Pedro Munoz versus Frankie Edgar has been moved to a different card due to Pedro Munoz testing positive for COVID-19. And in its place, they bumped Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Vera up to the co-main event and kind of rearranged the card. And they also bumped the John Dodson versus Merab, I can't even pronounce this dude's name, Dvalishvili onto the main card. And I'll read the tail of tape really quick. Dodson, 35, a little older, 5'2", 135 pounds, 66-inch reach. Merab being 29, standing at 5'5", 135 pounds, and a 68-inch reach. 2-inch reach advantage. Dodson is extremely experienced, has some good wins, but is kind of hit or miss. Seems to win 1, lose 2, win 2, lose 1, that kind of thing. But tons of experience at 135 and 125. Merab has 6 fights in the UFC, losing his first 2, winning his last 4 by decision. And I'm going to go ahead and pick Dodson for the win via unanimous decision. And that just about covers it.
Frankie's answer.
Hire us. Frankie's got the answer.
Boom. Podcast right there.
Perfect. All right. Moving on. Last card.
But don't listen to it because we have the actual answers.
Last fight on the main card. Some young guns. Finally, we're getting some young guns. Sean O'Malley. Sugar Sean O'Malley is taking on
The Sugar Show.
Marlon Cheetos.
Marlon
Vera. Marlon Vera. I don't know. I'm walking off over here. Let's get the tail of tape really quick.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Sean O'Malley's a youngster. I want to say 28, 25.
Younger. So Sugar Sean O'Malley, 25 years old. Marlon Vera being 27. Sugar Sean O'Malley being 5'9", Vera being 5'7". O'Malley 135. Marlon Vera dropping to 135 from 145, I guess.
I could only assume so.
Yes. 72-inch reach event or 72-inch reach for O'Malley, having a 1.5-inch reach advantage over Marlon Vera, who sits at 70.5-inch reach. Yeah, so much younger than the rest of the card. Two up-and-comers, but Marlon Vera being slightly more established. Which leads me to my first question. How many more wins does, assuming he wins Saturday night, how many more wins does Sugar Sean O'Malley need to get the next title shot?
To get the next title shot, O'Malley, in my opinion, does not need many more. I think if he wins this fight, you give him one more fight, maybe a top 5 guy. He wins that fight, and then I think you give him the title shot.
Yes, I would. I was originally saying that he should have fought John Dodson. That would have been a great fight. But this is also a great fight.
John Dodson's next fight just got announced.
I saw that. I would actually like to see him win. If he gets the win, I would like to see him take on Cody Garbrandt. That for the title eliminator.
Makes perfect sense for both of them.
Besides, Aljamain Sterling 100% needs the next title shot. No questions asked.
Yeah.
But whoever wins that fight, Sugar Sean O'Malley should fight Garbrandt. If he wins, whoever wins that one, give him the next title shot after Sterling. O'Malley really rising through the rankings very quickly, getting a massive following on social media, and just looking virtually unbeatable at this point.
Yeah, looking amazing. I mean, possibly the fastest growing boxing skill of any fighter, I would think. The man's boxing is just evolving at a rapid pace, as you just saw in his KO victory over Eddie Wineland.
Yes.
A veteran in the sport.
And Eddie cracked him one good time before. He got cracked one good time, wore it on his chin like it was nothing, and finished the job very quickly.
Showed Malley that it also shows he has a great chin.
Yes. And
Marlon Vera just lost to Yodong Song.
Song Yadong. In China, the names are backwards. Like Zhang Weili.
Song Yadong.
Song Yadong. Stern test. I cannot remember if Marlon Vera has fought at 135 in the past. I believe he is typically a 145er. Coming off the very, very controversial loss to Song Yadong. I personally thought Vera did enough to win, even though it was very close. I believe when you watched it with me, you thought...
I believed he won as well.
Yes. So nothing really gained, nothing lost from that fight.
Spotty record, though.
Yes. I do believe, though, this is going to be the sternest test of his career so far. Eddie Wineland has more experience than Marlon Vera does, but he was also a little older, a little more shop-worn going in. Vera is young, a little bit rangy, and well-rounded going into this fight. Granted, the weight cut does not hurt him too much. But Vera is being largely overlooked in this fight. Do you think that's justified, or do you think it's completely reasonable to have him as such a underdog by the fans?
I think it's completely justified. I think Sean O'Malley is the future of that division. I don't think he's going to stay undefeated forever. I'm not even sure if he would win a title fight if he got a title fight. But I think that this guy is a B-class fighter, and Sean O'Malley is definitely a top 10 fighter, A-ranked fighter, and is only going to keep getting better. I don't think he's even hit his prime yet. He's still growing, still gets better every fight. And his Eddie Wineland fight, that was the best you've ever seen Sean O'Malley. The only thing that's going against him is he just recently fought. I don't know what that means for him. but sometimes that could mean that you're a little worn out from training camps and whatnot. But he didn't take a lot of damage. It was a 1-round fight, but I still think O'Malley's got this one in the bag.
Yes, so both of them fighting very recently. Vera having the decision loss, and like I said, O'Malley having the KO win over Eddie Wineland. And it doesn't seem like O'Malley's really missed a beat since the USADA bust for the 2-year suspension. I mean, you always have to mention that kind of stuff when it comes up because you never really know the circumstances, and it explains why he's not as big of a star as he should be quite yet because he's still kind of recovering from that. I think the hype is justified, although I will say O'Malley has not faced a good grappler yet with good wrestling, takedowns, ground control, that sort of thing. I'm not sure if Vera's the man to do it. I think Vera's got better jiu-jitsu than he does wrestling, so we'll see how that plays into the game. But still a very stern test for both of them, really, but for O'Malley going into this one. I have O'Malley winning by decision. I think he wins a striking-based decision.
And I would have him KO first round. I think it's going to be another Eddie Wineland scenario. Maybe TKO. Maybe Vera will eat a few more on the ground before he finally the ref jumps in. But I think Sean O'Malley's just going to outclass him, and it'll probably be later in the round, maybe about the 4-minute mark. But O'Malley will get the KO victory because he's trying to get flashy KOs every fight at this point because he wants to be a superstar.
Most definitely. Okay, so we have very different picks tonight. Damn it, Greg, come get this.
Don't you fucking.
Thanks, Greg. Just ignore him. Just ignore him. You're doing great. All right, that's it for the main card. We're gonna cut to our international correspondent, also an international master of sport, I should say. Let's go to him right now.
Coming live, Double H Harold Howard, famous for the UFC Ultimate Fighting Challenge. I gotta do something. They sent me things. I told them I'd read. Alright. We're guessing things out here tonight, people. If you're going in, go up out of here. Mayhem Mahalers versus Vinny Pinchot. I like Mayhem because he's got a great name. It's the name he needs. It's the name we want. But Pinchot, he's going to pinch it. He's going to pinch it. It's Pinchot in the second knockout. Ashley Yola Leda Dehu versus Vinaha Lakeu. I did no research on that one. I have no idea. Ashley. It's a good, strong name. Yodele Hehu. That's in the... Number 3. Chris Dogshit. Dogshit. Douthit. Versus Hey Porter by Johnny Cash. This is... I've made a mistake.
That one. I thought you would choose.
I've made a mistake. Someone has written my list of best Johnny Cash songs into my UFC prelim picks. I apologize. It's not what we do in Canada. It's not what we're a boot.
It's Peter Porter. Peter Porter's his name.
Peter Porter picked a piper. Johnny Cash is the best.
Who hired this guy?
That guy. Oh my God. How many more of these do I have to do? How are we still watching this? Going up, going in, get it out. Number 4, Herb Burns versus number 5, Daniel. What? Herb Burns, Daniel. Put it in you. Put it in you. Poot. I don't care anymore. Is this the important ones? I felt like we really got Herb. I'm gonna go with Herb always. And then it's Jim with an E, Brown versus Pedro Julio Cesar Ricardo Pico de Gallo Chavez. Pico de Gallo Chavez. He's brilliant on the ground, brilliant in the burrito. But the other guy's got Jim in his name, but it's with an E. Get on up, get on out. It's Jim Brown. Well, as you can see, I have not been doing well lately. I bought this belt on eBay. It was not cheap. If anybody could help me out. Please help me. I'm not sure what to do anymore. Get on up, get on out.
I can't do this, Joni.
I just come. We're almost done. Anything else to note on the main card before we get out of here?
It's this one doesn't have the names that the last card had, but I think it's going to have the better quality fights than the last card. Usually the biggest names usually don't mean the duller fights sometimes. And this card, might not have as big of names, but I think you're going to have a lot more excitement and action.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I think most of the fights will be on the feet as well. And yeah, I think they'll be very exciting for the most part. Heavyweights always tend to deliver KOs or finishes, so you got 2 of those almost banked.
And then you got O'Malley.
Yes, O'Malley also. And I wanted to note one real quick fight on the radar, or under the radar, I should say. It's the last fight on the prelims, I believe. Khalil Roundtree is moving up to heavyweight to face Greg Hardy.
Yes.
Really out of nowhere. Khalil Roundtree was talking about fighting one more time and retiring a couple of months ago, but I don't know if that's in the cards anymore or what he's really planning on. It seems to be that he is much more interested in learning just the art of Muay Thai itself than actually the sport of mixed martial arts. But you never really know. Fighters can kind of reinvent themselves. Interesting matchup. Greg Hardy being the heavyweight and Khalil Roundtree being as low as a middleweight before.
Yes, and I'd really hate to see Roundtree's last fight be against Greg Hardy, that bag of shit.
Yeah, he's a real piece of shit, real scumbag. We are really hoping that Khalil Roundtree can get the win. If it stays on the feet, I would say Roundtree is much more skilled, but there's always that power equalizer that Greg Hardy has and that most heavyweights have that can really just shut the skill out the window at some point.
Yeah.
Just the one shot.
Well, Roundtree has a lot of notable wins, actually. He's just dicey on who's going to show up that night, when Greg Hardy's most notable win in a fight is his wife.
We're going to cut that out, right? Wait, no, it's okay. We're not live, right? Okay. Stop yelling in my f***ing ear.
I think it's my last time doing this.
Okay, yeah, just we'll cut. It's okay. All right. So we're gonna give you the floor really quick for Evan's old school fight recommendations. So this is the segment where my co-host is going to recommend one of his favorite or most underrated fights and or fighters of all time. So take it away.
All right. So one of the very first UFC fight nights, was actually a main event with when Nate Diaz, he had only been fighting a couple years in the UFC. He had just come off the win of the show. Actually had beaten Gray Maynard when Gray Maynard just started, so you weren't getting the prime Gray Maynard. So they threw him against a veteran, Josh Neer, who doesn't have enough notoriety when he had the exact same heart and demeanor as both Diaz brothers. So you had both people who didn't give a shit about anything. They just wanted to throw caution to the wind every fight and just throw hands and cuss people out mid-fight. Josh Neer did it all just as much as Nate Diaz did. And both were amazing on the ground as far as jiu-jitsu game. So you didn't really know who was going to do what. You didn't know if they were going to stand. You didn't know if they were going to taste each other on the ground. It was an extremely close fight. It's a split decision. I won't tell you who wins if you check this out. They're both killers. And this was really Diaz's first big test. This is his big first big name that he got in a fight. And it turned into an actual amazing grappling match. If you want to see a fight that's exciting while on the ground, because there's not many of those, you want to see Nate Diaz and Josh Neer, because they both are trying to break each other's limbs the whole 3 rounds. It's an unbelievable fight.
Well, you have sold me. I will definitely be checking this fight out very soon and get back to you on what I thought about it on the next episode. All right, some closing notes real quick. We are going to be using the Verdict MMA app to make all of our fight predictions. It's a great app.
The best MMA app there is out there right now.
Yes. It works like really just like a social media app. You make an account. You can pick an avatar, choose a name, username.
Follow your friends.
You can add your friends on there. You can kind of compete against them to see who is the best at picking fights. It's essentially betting without having to use money. There is the worldwide leaderboard. You can compete with the world.
Yep, and they use the same type of odds like Vegas would use their betting odds.
Yes.
There's favorites, there's underdogs, and the pick how you win gives you more XP.
Based on what the fans are picking. And you get to pick the outcomes of every fight on the main card, and you pick who's going to win, what round they're going to win in, which way they're going to win, like TKO, KO, submission, decision, round 1, round 2, whatever. And there's odds. So like if maybe the fight isn't going to be likely to be a submission, if you bet on submission, you might gain like times 22 of your experience points. You bet points that they give you for each one. I'm probably doing a bad job explaining this, but I'll put some graphics up.
Just download the app.
Definitely check it out. It does not take long to figure out how to do. Maybe one night of using it, and you'll be good to go after that.
As if UFC wasn't exciting enough.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, and you can also
download this app, and you can bet against your friends. It makes each fight, even the fights that you don't even know who the people are, it still makes those fights exciting because you're betting against your friends on those fights.
And you start out as a white belt, and you kind of go up the belts as you get better and better and more experience points.
In the post-fight, we're going to show the results of who wins between us.
Yes.
And we'll get to see who the grandmaster of fight analyzing is. And we just showed you our picks tonight, so you will have a good idea of who we think's going to win and how they're going to win and all that. And we will share the results.
Yes.
Next episode.
And yes, I'll place my name up here in the video. Just Bleed 93, I believe. It'll be a picture. You'll see. And you are Quanley. Correct?
Sure, I think that's right.
Yes.
If you just see a picture of Ernest, that's me.
I believe I have a picture of the Just Bleed guy. So.
And that's Ernest goes to camp.
And the app is free. So no paying, no betting money. Just have a good old time. I guess that's about it for us tonight. I'm looking forward to these fights and our post-fight show.
Me as well. I just have a quick question.
Yes.
If these fights aren't happening right now, why did we go all the way to Fight Island to do this? Because the fights aren't happening for quite a while.
We're on an island? How did you get me here? I thought you were just driving.
Right.